Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make sourdough discard pancakes, sausage, and eggs for breakfast. So let's start out with our pancakes. I'm going to add in a cup of whole milk into my bowl. We're going to mix our wet ingredients together and then we'll put in our dry. So 1 whole cup of milk. Then we're going to add a cup of sourdough discard. It could be active if you want. I'm gonna give it a little stir, and then we're gonna pour in 1 cup of sourdough discard. Let's hold this right here. There we go. Feed our sourdough later, and I'm gonna give it a little mix so that the sourdough discard mixes into our milk. Then we're going to add in 1 egg. There we go. So I have 1 egg. I'm gonna pop the yolk, and then I'm gonna mix it in. And then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This, you don't have to add vanilla if you don't want to. I like it. It gives a little hint of sweetness to the pancake. And I think it pairs well with maple syrup. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Put my lid back on. And mix it. And then we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons of sugar. This again will add just a little bit of sweetness to our pancake. So 1, 2. Let's give it a little whisk. Perfect. Now we've got our wet ingredients plus the sugar right over here. And now we're gonna add our dry ingredients. For our dry ingredients, we need 1 cup of all-purpose flour. You don't wanna use bread flour for pancakes because of the gluten content. It will lead to really dense pancakes that aren't light and fluffy. So 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So, we got baking powder, not baking soda. And for those of you who don't know, baking powder is actually baking soda mixed with cornstarch. So it doesn't have as much of the active ingredient of baking soda. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then we need a 1/2 teaspoon, or just under a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We don't need very much, but we'll need a little bit more. So, just on like a lightly filled 1/2 teaspoon. And then I'm gonna give, oh, and let's not forget, a pinch of salt, about a 1/2 teaspoon. You don't need much, just a little bit.
You got a question? What are you making?
We are making sourdough discard pancakes for breakfast today, and then we'll also fry up some sausage and make some scrambled eggs. A nice little brunch for everyone today because it's the weekend. And on the weekends, we typically have a late brunch followed by dinner versus having, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay.
You got a question? Is that for your family?
Yes, it is. Let's see. So here is in our wet ingredients, which was a cup of milk, a cup of sourdough starter, an egg, and some vanilla. And now we are going to whisk in our flour until they are just combined. You don't need to over combine them. There. I'm gonna whisk it around, make sure I don't have any flour pockets. I like to add the dry into the wet versus the wet into the dry because I feel like it mixes a bit better. Here we go. So here is our lovely sourdough discard pancake batter. Just shake it off. So we have lots. Okay, let's prep our skillets over here. I'm gonna turn this guy on to high, and then I'm gonna get my sausages going as well. I'll start my eggs toward the end because the eggs do not need as much time to cook. But these sausages are frozen, so we'll cook them from frozen all the way through, so they take a bit longer. Add a bit of butter in here. We're gonna add a bit of butter to our skillet as well. Once this melts up, we're gonna add in 4 patties, because only half my kiddos like sausage. They love bacon, but we are out of bacon. And let me get my spatula. And I want to make sure I melt the butter all over. I'm using a non-stick skillet, so you don't, the butter is more for adding kind of a flavor to the pancake than it is to keep it from sticking. I always recommend either using a griddle or a non-stick skillet or pan for your pancakes. That way they will flip nice and easy. Here we go. And it looks like our sausage butter is melting up too. Perfect. And then I'm gonna wait until I start to see a little sizzle butter on the griddle, because you wanna wait until your griddle is nice and warm to do your pancakes.
You have a question? Have you experimented with different types of butter?
I have used a ghee before, or which is clarified butter, and the like European butter, which has a higher fat content and less milk solids than American butter. But I just buy mine in bulk from Costco or wherever we go, just because we use a lot of it. But yeah, you could definitely use, ghee, or like a European butter like Kerrygold or Bulgaria. There we go. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a sizzle here. I'm gonna go get my smaller measuring cup, because I like to use a 1/4 cup when I'm doing my pancakes. I find it uses, it leads to the perfect size. I don't like my pancakes to get super huge, so I use about a 1/4 cup of batter when I'm scooping them into it. There we go. And I'm gonna scoop them out onto our skillet. Now with sourdough pancakes, you could let the batter sit for up to 30 minutes to get an even fluffier pancake if you wanted to. My kids are hungry, so if I made them wait an extra 30 minutes, there might be a mutiny in our house. There we go. So I've got our 3 pancakes in here. And then for when I'm cooking my pancakes, you want to use the thin spatula. It is much easier to get under and flip if you have a very thin spatula versus a thicker one like this. It's not going to go under your pancake as easily. I'm going to turn my pancakes down to about a 6. You don't want to cook them on too high of a heat, because if you do, you'll end up kind of burning the bottom of it before you've got the dough cooking through. Give my little sausages a shake. They actually have, they take a long time to cook on each side. And then also, if you've never made pancakes before, a lot of times you'll know when it's ready is when you start to see little bubbles popping up through your pancakes. So right now, we're getting just a very slight bubble. We want to wait until we have a lot of bubbles on our pancakes, and that's going to let us know that it's kind of cooked through. Again, you don't want your heat up too high, because if it is too high, you'll end up burning your pancake. And then you can always go under and then just kind of check the coloring by flipping up and pulling it like this. And that will let us know. And I'm going to rotate, because I find my oven cooks hotter over here than it does over there, so I want them to cook as evenly as possible. Your first pancakes always take the longest. After that, your skittle is completely heated up, and they'll cook much faster, and you'll want to keep turning down your temperature. Okay, let's take a look at these. This one needs a little bit longer. Good. Okay, while we're waiting, I'm gonna get ready to feed my sourdough that we have left over, because I always keep it active. So every time I use it for discard, I'm going to feed it. So let me check before we start it. Let me see how these are progressing. Very good. This one got a nice golden color on it. You still need a little bit more time. Okay, so what I start when I'm making my starter or my sourdough starter, in the beginning I'm very exact. For feeding, I don't use my scale. I just use equal tablespoons of water to flour. So we're gonna put in 10 tablespoons of flour, which is 150 grams about, and 10 tablespoons of water. Before I do that, let me flip these, because I know they're getting to the point where they should be about ready. Beautiful. There we go. We've got a nice golden thing on them as our thing. Okay, let me put this out of the way. The second side doesn't need as much. You want to use unbleached flour, so I'm just using all-purpose unbleached flour. I'm going to mix in 10 tablespoons of flour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got our 10 tablespoons of water. Let's check on our pancakes. The second side always cooks. See how much faster that cooks? These are perfect. So I'm gonna get a plate to pop them on. I'm gonna turn my skillet down. And always adjust your skillet. When you first heat it up, you have it higher, but then adjust it down so that you don't end up burning your things. And then I always put, between batches, I always put a little bit of butter on here, because I love that butter crust on our my pancakes. And I'm gonna turn my heat down. I have mine to about a 4, which is kind of a medium low. Now let's scoop out our 1/4 of a cup. And your next sets of pancakes are going to cook much faster than your first round, because your skillet is nice and hot. There we go. And then I feel like our sausages have been sizzling nicely, so we're going to give them a quick flip so they can start searing off on the other side. Okay, we added 10 tablespoons of flour, which is roughly 150 grams. So I'm going to add, the equivalent in milliliters is 150 milliliters or 10 tablespoons of water, which is roughly about 2/3 of a cup. And then we're just gonna mix it in and give it a good stir. And then this will be fed and perfect.
You gotta comment that some people mess up on the first round of pancakes because it does cook different.
Yes, it cooks very, very slowly. I know, that's why I said a lot of people consider your first batch supposed to be your practice. I flipped that one a minute too soon, your practice one. And a lot of times they'll discard it. But I just find you just gotta take your time with it. It does cook so much slower. But just be patient. Okay, I'm gonna stir this guy up, and he'll be nice and fed for later. Okay, I'm gonna set him over here. I'm gonna get a new cheesecloth to put on him. Okay, I think this guy's about ready to flip too. There, put him on top of my other one. See if I can slide that guy over. Perfect. And now I can start on my eggs. Your eggs really don't need much time to cook, so I always do them last after I've gotten about 2 batches done. I'm gonna turn on my thing to about a medium, and then let's check on these pancakes. Oh, look at that, perfect. That one needs a little bit more. Go. And a nice low heat on your thing. If you cook them too high, you'll end up burning them and their insides will be doughy, and nobody wants like a wet pancake. Let's cook this one. And this one, since I kind of prematurely cooked them, I'm gonna flip them on that side in just a little bit more. Let's see, a little bit longer. And if your pancakes aren't like flipping up easy like this, because you don't have a good nonstick skillet. So I recommend like you could do them in a metal pan, but then you have to make sure it's well seasoned and nice and buttered. So these are hexclad. I absolutely love them. They work really well, but a good nonstick pan is golden for having perfect pancakes. I'm gonna put a little bit of butter on here and kind of do this. Again, this is not so it doesn't stick. This is more for that little crunchy, buttery flavor on your pancake. I love that. Okay. Scoop these guys out. And put it here. Do one right there. I always like to give a little bit of space between pancakes just to make it a little bit easier to flip, but I also try to keep them towards the center because the center is going to be the most even cooking surface. We check our sausages. Oh, perfect. Look at these. We got a nice brown crust. So I'm just going to turn my heat off on those. And my butter is nice and melted over here. So we are going to put in our eggs. We're just going to do a quick scramble on the eggs. I don't pre-beat my eggs when I'm scrambling them. I find that just makes an extra dirty dish. I'll just scramble them in the pan. But if you want extra fluffy eggs, you can add a little bit of milk or water to them, and they'll make them a little bit fluffier. If you like more dense eggs or richer eggs, add an extra yolk to your scrambled eggs. I'm going to pop all my yolks, and then I'm going to give them a quick scramble this way. There we go.
Yeah, question. What's your thoughts about cottage cheese with the eggs?
I have actually never done cottage cheese with the eggs, but I do know that cottage cheese does melt up really nicely. So I think it's a great way to add a boost of protein if you wanted. My kids don't like cheese in their eggs. That one, I kind of flipped these prematurely. Oh, that one's perfect. So I'm going to cook those on each side one more time. There we go. So yeah, I know right now cottage cheese is like the it thing on like the streaming platforms. I keep seeing all these cottage cheese recipes like make a cottage cheese wrap or whatnot. I personally, and I think it's the texture, I think cottage cheese is so gross. I don't know why it's that like chunky texture, but that is me personally, so I never ever buy it. But there are people who love it and I buy it. I think the cottage cheese wrap where you bake it would probably be pretty good because it's, you know, it's all melted out. But I have never personally done it in scrambled eggs. There we go. Scoop these around. And I'm gonna let those sit for a minute. Let's check on these pancakes. That one's nice. I pre-flipped those ones a minute early, so they are still gonna cook. I'm gonna get a little bit of salt for my eggs. I like to salt my eggs in the middle of cooking versus at the end I feel like the salt kind of blends in a little. It has a chance to dissolve into the egg liquids. There we go. So I added probably like a half a teaspoon. It was like 2 good pinches for 6 eggs. There we go. Scramble these up. My favorite way to do an egg is actually a fried egg. I love a fried egg, but only one of my kids likes a fried egg like me. Okay, they're getting nice. So, scrambled eggs is everyone likes it. Again, none of my kids like cheese in their scrambled eggs, which is funny because they'll all eat a cheese omelet, which to me is the exact same thing. But to them, they're very opinionated about their scrambled eggs. Here we go. And they also, it's one thing is funny, you can do your scrambled eggs, like you can kind of in their cooking early when they're like still runny, which is called kind of like a snotty egg. I think those are gross. My parents love them that way. And then ours, I like to kind of cook them when they're a little bit wet, and that way the residual heat of the pan will finish kind of drying them out, but not overcooking them. Okay, I think we have one more batch of pancakes to put on here. Spread my little butter around. Also, I think there's a new fad going out right now. It's called scrambled pancakes. I have never done that. It's very interesting. You essentially pour your batter out and then you scramble it like it's scrambled eggs. To me, it's a little weird, but that's a new thing that seems to take the internet by storm. And let's see if I have one more in here.
Yeah, but I'm surprised you don't see too many sourdough discard stuff considering sourdough bread's so big.
I know. It is. But I feel like I make more things with sourdough discard than I do with a sourdough bread. I'm always making a loaf of bread like every 2 days. But I always have the discard all the time because I feed it every day so I can make things with it because it's pretty gut healthy and delicious. I've made like scones. I've done a lemon scones, cranberry orange scones, blueberry scones. I've done muffins. I did, yesterday I did red velvet cupcakes using sourdough discard. And I think we're down to like 2 of those or 3 of those left. I did cinnamon coffee cake streusel muffins. Those were everyone's favorite. They loved them. I've done pasta with my sourdough discard. I have like so many recipes that I do. And they're just like, it just adds a nice moisture and a little bit of a new flavor profile to things, which are just delicious. Okay, let's get this guy. We'll let him warm up and then I'll slide him towards the middle. These are not done yet. Oh, this guy might be. And I find my skillet here is bigger than my burner, so my outer ones don't cook as nice as my inner ones. So I always try to keep my cooking in the middle so that they all get pretty even heat. But as these last ones are cooking up, I'm going to plate our breakfast. So we will have our pancakes, a nice kind of triple stack of pancakes with a good serving of scrambled eggs and sausage. So that is our little brunch today. Simple, easy, but delicious. And homemade pancakes are the best. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We have all of our videos posted on, and so you can kind of check through and check on those recipes. But again, thanks for joining us. We love having you guys here today.